Alright, we're back with another Assassin's Creed video. Yes, I know, it's been a lot, I've talked about the series a lot, I just need to embrace the title of AC YouTuber, don't I? Fuck. But there's a game, there's a trilogy, there's a collective story that I need to talk about. It's a trilogy that made me fall in love with the franchise and fall in love with games as a medium 10 years ago. So when I saw an unspecified individual on Twitter talking shit about the series and asking why it was widely considered the peak of the franchise, well, you just know I had to respond. If you didn't know, in 2019 I made an hour-and-a-half long retrospective explaining exactly why this trilogy is so incredible. It took me many a month to finish that video, and to be honest, to this day it's still my proudest achievement on YouTube. But today I think it's time to return to this trilogy, and more specifically Assassin's Creed 2, in a more brief way. Don't worry, this isn't going to be an hour-and-a-half long. Before we jump in, make sure to hit like, and also if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. It'd really be appreciated and it'd really help me out. And with that being said, let's jump into why exactly Assassin's Creed 2 and the rest of the Ezio Trilogy is the best content we've seen from the franchise of Assassin's Creed. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Desmond Miles, the story of this kidnapped bartender, carried over straight off the enigmatic cliffhanger ending of the first entry into the series. The modern day storytelling between AC2 and Revelations was far and away the best we've seen, with the likes of Corey May, Patrice Désilets, and Darby McDevitt crafting uniquely likeable characters to surround our everyman that was Desmond. The way these writers were able to make these dynamic relationships within tiny minor segments of each game, while still creating a tangible threat from Abstergo, and creating intensely detailed and interesting lore surrounding the first Civ, is insane. And the fact that those major parts of these games was done whilst creating the stories within the Animus is even more spectacular, with this juggling act never being able to be replicated as perfectly by any other entry into the series. And then we get on to the game itself. Let's talk about gameplay, since after all this is a game. Sure, an argument can be made that the parkour is better in Unity. Sure, an argument could be made that the combat is better in Origins. Sure, the stealth might be better in Syndicate. But the reason that this trilogy's gameplay is far and away the best is due to the consistency of it, with every single core element of the series' gameplay being at a minimum good, if not great. Games like Unity, Black Flag, Origins, and Syndicate, they often had one or two systems that stood head and shoulders above the rest, but with AC2, with the Ezio Trilogy, every single system had a chance to shine. Every single system interweaved into the other, creating far and away the most fluid, interconnected, and engaging gameplay of the entire series. And that's without even mentioning the content itself. Specifically, let's start with the side content. To begin, the storytelling of the side content in these games was oftentimes better than that of the main stories today, whether it be Ezio and Christina's heartbreaking romance, the friendship built up between Ezio and Leonardo, or again the delve into lore with the truth, the story of Subject 16. That's not all though, because despite the stories in the side content being great, the gameplay dynamics of them are even better. The set pieces and mechanics built up solely for the Leonardo missions are uniquely magnificent. The assassin tombs throughout the entire trilogy still provide the best level design of any of the games, along with providing genuinely great rewards. The Brotherhood systems provided a system of micromanagement, as did the rebuilding of Monteregione and Rome, which provide fairly in-depth economy systems for the time, which again, haven't been matched a decade after their appearance. And finally, we reach the story itself. The story of Ezio Auditore, a boy, a man, a mentor. We see him literally from birth to death. We're first introduced to an arrogant, silver spoon-fed banker's son, who deep down is dedicated and loving, especially to his family. So when we see said family brutally murdered, we see him become besotted with revenge. He goes after those responsible, over time meeting different mentors who guide him through life, passing on fragments of wisdom. Over the span of 2 decades, these mentors, these assassins, become Ezio's new family. And the relationships he builds with this family is the entire reason why the music that is titled Ezio's Family is the most significant piece of music in the entire series 10 years later. After fighting his entire life, he comes to the realization that he has a higher purpose than simple revenge, as it's slowly revealed to him that he's the Prophet, a descendant of the ones who came before, and so when he comes face to face with the corrupt, power-hungry Templar responsible for his father's death, he gives him mercy, seeing there is more to life than killing, and also realizing that the revenge of his family doesn't matter anymore, as he's grown to love a new family. And then a massive cliffhanger ending, an end of the world plot, connecting this Florentine noble's story to that of his descendant. I won't go through the other two games' story in full because the unspecified person on Twitter didn't mention those games, but let me be brief here. The following two games massively expand the relationships of Ezio and his family, as we see him meet new brothers in arms, as we see him grow into being the mentor, someone who inspires others to rise up against oppression. We see him get over the death of his one true love, and learn to love again. And we see him, Desmond and Altair come together in full synchronization, all standing in the same room together, as they see what their purpose in life truly is. Desmond is left with a mission, and Ezio is left in peace. Finally, with his family reunited, as in the twilight of his life, he reflects on all those that made his journey so spectacular. So that is why Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Assassin's Creed Revelations still stand head and shoulders above the rest of this series. 10 years later, they are still the peak of this series. They are undeniably, irrefutably, far and away the best content we've seen, both from a gameplay and narrative perspective, both in ancestor plot and modern day plot, both in lore and historical accuracy. I hope I was clear with my points. I mean, I have pretty much just memorized my entire hour-and-a-half long retrospective, and I also hope that the unspecified guy on Twitter understands now why this is general consensus. So, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, it really would help me out if you could hit like, and if you're new here, hit subscribe and turn notifications on. Also, feel free to comment down below and tell me what you think of the video. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, let me know. And with all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Founded Scarab, and I'll see you in the next one.
Ezio Auditori da Firenze. The Auditori are not dead! I'm still here! Me! Ezio Auditori!
Theodora! What are you all doing here?
Yours is not a subtle approach.
It's over, Romeo.
It is a good life. It reminds me of myself. Wait. What are you doing?
Ezio! 22 years ago, I stood where I stand now. Watched my loved ones die. Brothers, sisters, the whole city rises against us, while Yusuf's murderer waits and watches from the arsenal, laughing. We are free to follow our own path. There are those who will take that freedom from us. Too many of you gladly give it. But it is our ability to choose whatever you think is true that makes us human.
No. Killing you won't bring my family back. I'm done.
Christina, hold on. I'll get you to a doctor. You're going to be alright.
Don't think I am.
No! Don't go. Stay with me, Christina.
Ezio, don't you know? I've always been with you.
that nothing is true is to realize that the foundations of society are fragile, and that we must be the shepherds of our own civilization. To say that everything is permitted is to understand that we are the architects of our actions, that we must live with their consequences, whether glorious or tragic. No, you will stay here. I have seen enough for one life. Desmond, I heard your name once